Well, concerning the question of the threat by the American senators and government and Israel against the ICC, why is this happening? Well, look, you have to understand this is Zionist dominated and control of the United States Congress and the executive branch of the United States government under both Trump and now Biden. Zionists, money, influence, power, media control, demanding that this be done. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, where Al Capone and his gang of hoodlums came from. Zionists are gangsters. They have a gangster mentality. And that is what we are seeing at work here, a gangster mentality by Zionists in Israel and the United States and their fellow travelers to make sure the ICC does absolutely nothing to prevent the Israeli extermination of the Palestinians in Gaza, and as we speak now in the West Bank as well. Genocide against the Palestinians is now 7 months old, and the ICC prosecutor has done nothing. He's been out to the border there between Egypt and Gaza. He's seen it for himself. He has people there on the scene. He knows exactly what's going on. He's done nothing. He could make a difference here by immediately coming out with indictments of Netanyahu, Gallant, Minister of War, and the Chief of Staff of the Israeli Army. Let me say this. In 2009, after Operation Cast Lead, that was a genocidal massacre of the Palestinians that exterminated about 1,500 of them in Gaza, with the full approval of the Bush Jr. administration. I advised Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas to accept the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court for Palestine and the Palestinians, which he did. Since that time, 15 years ago, the ICC has not lifted one finger to help the Palestinians. Not one finger. And all the death and destruction that has been inflicted on the Palestinians since 2009 is on the head of the ICC. If they had started prosecuting the highest level officials of the Israeli government in 2009, maybe all of this could have been prevented. Over 40,000 exterminated Palestinians in Gaza. Where is the ICC prosecutor now? He should have prosecuted Netanyahu and Gallant and the Chief of Staff quite some time ago. He still hasn't done it. If he did it now, maybe he could head off this forthcoming massacre in Rafah. But where's the ICC prosecutor? Where's the International Court of Justice? The ICJ has inherent authority right now, if they want to issue an order against Israel to cease and desist. Well, yes, the Trump administration did threaten the ICC when back in 2010, I filed a complaint with the ICC against George Bush, Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, Tenet, many other high-level U.S. officials for their policy of extraordinary rendition against Muslims, Arabs, Asians of color for crimes against humanity. And finally, the previous prosecutor, Bensouda, got permission from the ICC to open an investigation into this extraordinary rendition policy by the United States government. Mm-hmm. What happened then is that the Trump administration adopted sanctions against the ICC prosecutor and everyone affiliated with it, and said they would do the same thing if action was taken against Israel. So what happened? This new ICC prosecutor from Britain came in, Karim Khan, and he immediately dropped. One of the first things he did was drop the investigation against Bush and the rest of them for extraordinary rendition. Well, that's no profile in courage. So there we are. I can't say I'm overly optimistic that the ICC is going to do anything to rescue the Palestinians from outright genocide. They haven't done anything since 2009. That's been 15 years. They haven't lifted one finger. They couldn't care less. This is a question of legitimacy, both moral and legal. As you know, the United States likes to pretend it's the great moral imperator for the entire world. Now, those of you living in the Muslim world know this is a joke and a fraud, but a good deal of the rest of the world doesn't know that. And also, because of the Zionist control and domination of the mainstream U.S. news media here in the United States, most of the American people don't know it either. So, if there were indictments, action, things of this nature, it hopefully could break through and make a difference here. So that is why these different actions, ICC, ICJ, Security Council, General Assembly, BRICS, ICO, League of Arab States, are all very important to try to break through the Zionist massive propaganda campaign in the mainstream news media, certainly in the United States, and from what I'm seeing in Europe too. The ICC, the prosecutor, and the staff, as of now, have the blood of 40,000 Palestinians on their hands. They could have stopped this, tried to stop it, and they didn't. As for the International Court of Justice, the so-called World Court, the same is true for them. I condemn them in the strongest terms possible. The Republic of South Africa tried 3 times to get the International Court of Justice to do something meaningful and effective for the Palestinians, and they refused. They refused to order a ceasefire against Israel. And South Africa was courageous, heroic. They won 1 order, they won a decision, and they won a second order, and the World Court refused to order a ceasefire, despite the fact that they ordered Hamas to release the hostages. Well, fine, the hostages should be released, but that's going to require a ceasefire in the first place before the hostages get released. It's totally nonsensical. And then Nicaragua tried to get the World Court to rule there against Germany for aiding and abetting Israeli genocide against the Palestinians. And they completely rebuffed Nicaragua. It was shameless what they did to Nicaragua. If you read their opinion, and then just read the opinion by Nicaragua's judge ad hoc, completely repudiating what they had to say. And they turned away Nicaragua empty-handed. The World Court had a chance with that proceeding with Nicaragua to weigh in and do something here to try to stop a massacre at Rafah, And instead, all they did was shed some crocodile tears for the 1.2 million Palestinians in Rafah. They did nothing. The International Court of Justice, those 15 judges up there that rejected Nicaragua, they should all be fired. And the UN General Assembly should investigate them because the UN General Assembly controls their budget. I wouldn't give them a dime after 4 times having a chance to rescue and save the Palestinians, and they refuse. What else can I say? And I say that myself. I've won 3 orders from the International Court of Justice on behalf of the Republic of Bosnia-Herzegovina against Yugoslavia to cease and desist from committing all acts of genocide against the Bosnians. I won the first World Court ever on the Genocide Convention. Then I won a second order. This was the first time ever that any lawyer had won 2 orders in one case before the World Court since it was founded in 1921. And then I won a third order, an Article 74-4 order. The World Court would not give me what I asked for to save the Bosnians. And what happened? The massacre at Srebrenica. That's what happened. South Africa, in its pleadings with the World Court, quoted me and said, the last time something like this happened, the lawyer for the Bosnians asked you to give him what he needed to save the Bosnians, and you didn't. And then took place the massacre at Srebrenica. So we are asking you to give us what we need to stop the Israeli genocide against the Palestinians in Gaza, and then particular in Rafah, and they wouldn't do it. In the Bosnia genocide case, the final decision on the merits, the World Court belatedly found that the massacre, they put it at 7,500 Bosnian Muslim men and boys at Srebrenica, was genocide. That's clear. Well, now we have 40,000 massacred Palestinians in Gaza. What has the World Court done about that? Nothing effective. Clearly, if 7,000 Bosnian Muslim men and boys massacred at Srebrenica was genocide, over 40,000 massacred Palestinians at Gaza qualify as genocide. I noticed President Erdogan has instructed the Turkish government to enter the case on behalf of Nicaragua. I think that's applaudable on his part. As far as I can see now, the Turkish people and now President Erdogan are doing what they can to save the Palestinians. So I commend President Erdogan and the Turkish people. Keep it up. We have to keep it up. We haven't heard from the ICC. They're doing nothing. We have heard from President Erdogan, but with all due respect to the president, I think we need to hear some more. There are very few leaders out there, world-class leaders like the president, that a good deal of the world look up to, the Muslim world certainly, taking a very firm stand here. I know he's finally cut off economic relations with Israel, which is very commendable too. I understand Turkey is a very influential, powerful country, politically, economically, religiously, and otherwise. But there's enormous power here on the other side. I've been up against it myself for many years on behalf of the Palestinians. The Palestinians have always been up against 2 of the most powerful countries in the world, Israel and the United States. Right? It's a lot of power on their side, and I can assure you, having been legal advisor to the Palestinian delegation to the Middle East peace negotiations, and especially my client and friend, the late Dr. Haider Abdul Shafi, their chair, Israel and the U.S. and American Zionists will do everything possible to destroy them. Lie, cheat, blackmail, threats, intimidation, ultimately murder. It was Ariel Sharon who murdered my former client, President Arafat, with the green light from President George Bush Jr. So they will stop at nothing. As I said before, these Zionists are gangsters. And the U.S. government, the Zionists there in the U.S. government supporting them are gangsters too. Blinken was behind me at Harvard. He worked for Marty Peretz in my government department where I got my PhD at Harvard. His career at Harvard wasn't going anywhere. So his wife bought out for him the New Republic, and he turned it into a house organ for the Likud party. Diehard neocon Zionist Likudnik, just like Netanyahu. And Blinken worked for Peretz at the New Republic. He's a diehard neocon Zionist Likudnik, just like Netanyahu. And he controls the State House. As for the White House Chief of Staff, Zintz, diehard neocon Zionist. And his predecessor before that, Ron Klain, behind me at Harvard Law School, another diehard neocon Zionist. This is, I'm afraid, what the Palestinians are up against. Turkey is up against this power and force as well. This is very important. I was the one who did all the legal work for the Palestinians on this matter, on the Palestinian Declaration of Independence, and then how to pursue membership in the United Nations organization. This is very important because no UN member state has ever been destroyed. Some of them have disintegrated, like my adversary, the former Yugoslavia, but they haven't been destroyed. And it's obvious the Zionists want to destroy Palestine and ethnically cleanse as many Palestinians out of Palestine as they can. That's very clear. Now, there is a precedent here on Bosnia. When I was Bosnia's lawyer and ambassador to the World Court, the United Nations, the European Union, and the Clinton administration came up with what was called the Owen-Stoltenberg Plan that would have carved up the Republic of Bosnia-Herzegovina into 3 little pieces of land, 2 of which would have been immediately annexed by Serbia and Croatia. The portion allocated to the Muslims, they would have been wiped out. The Owen-Stoltenberg Plan would have destroyed Bosnia's statehood under international law. It would have robbed Bosnia of its UN membership to make all this possible and subject 1.5 to 2 million more Bosnians to ethnic cleansing when we already had 2 million victims of ethnic cleansing. And to facilitate this, the UN, the EU, and the Americans knew they had to get rid of Bosnia's UN membership. I stopped that myself, single-handedly. I made sure that they could not rob Bosnia of its UN membership and sabotage the Owen-Stoltenberg Plan. Bosnia is still there today. They are a UN member state. They have their statehood. Obviously, they are in severe distress. As you know, they're in Turkey. I know President Erdogan has done the best he can to help the Bosnians, but they're in severe distress. Half the country is still overrun by a gang of genocidal Serb maniacs. But the Bosnian precedent proves why the Palestinians have to get that UN membership. so as not to be wiped out, to go the way of history. In 2010, the Palestinians started a campaign, a diplomatic campaign, for their UN membership. They submitted an application in 2011. It was all in order. They fulfilled all the requirements, and the Americans threatened to veto it. So instead, the Palestinians got UN observer state status, which they currently have, along the lines that Switzerland had before it became a full-fledged UN member state. Now, in light of the UN veto, the US veto, the Palestinians have invoked what is called the Uniting for Peace resolution. I did the memorandum for them on that, explaining them the Uniting for Peace resolution, how to employ it, etc. That basically says, in the event of a great power veto at the Security Council, the matter gets turned over to the UN General Assembly for action on it. That is the posture we are in today as we speak. The UN General Assembly can admit Palestine as a full-fledged member state at this current Uniting for Peace resolution session. The Palestinians will need 2/3 vote. They clearly have the votes. The problem is the bullying, threats, lies, harassment, and blackmail by the Americans. I was on the floor of the UN General Assembly with the Palestinian delegation when we moved to upgrade our status at the UN, not to go for full-fledged UN membership, but before that. And we had the votes then in the General Assembly. And what happened was the U.S. ambassador, Tom Pickering, then got up in front of the entire UN General Assembly and threatened every state there. I was there. I heard the threat. He was just maybe 20 yards from me, saying that if you voted to upgrade Palestine's status, the United States government will pull down the entire United Nations organization. So what happened then was that the Palestinian delegates conferred among themselves. I was sitting right next to them. And finally, the Palestinian ambassador went up to the UN General Assembly podium and said, well, we've heard what the U.S. ambassador said. I'm withdrawing the resolution. And that's that.